Hi, folks. I am here in New Albany discussing the changes to the Americans with Disabilities Act that just passed the House. It's HR 620 for those of you that are interested in those sorts of numbers, and it is headed to the Senate. And it's going to be important for the reasons that we will discuss. That we all keep pressure on our senators to make sure that this monstrosity doesn't pass. Since it is a bad bill, Representative Hollingsworth voted for it, and I think that should probably not come as a surprise to most of the folks that have been watching our page and paying attention to what's going on in Indiana politics. But these are some pretty major changes to the ADA and to public accessibility for folks that have disabilities, and particularly folks who are in wheelchairs. And this has been a big focus of the kind of civil rights work and the civil rights advocacy that I've done throughout my career. So obviously I care about this, and I have a stake in it. I'm here with one of my former clients, who is Carol Uebelhoer, and I'm doing my own videography today, so I apologize. But Carol, are you in frame?
Yes, I am.
And so can you sort of talk to people about...
Lower it a little bit.
Okay.
Right.
Can you sort of talk to people about what your day-to-day challenges are when you're trying to go to public places? Because that's really what this legislation strikes at.
Actually, my day-to-day challenges are wide enough doors, being able to... heavy doors that I have to open to get myself in my wheelchair through it. Steps. I was in a restaurant recently where it was accessible and I could get in it and eat, but to get to the bathroom you had to go up 2 steps, and so my wheelchair doesn't go up steps, so I couldn't go to the bathroom.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And so, what is your understanding of what is going to let's talk first about the Americans with Disabilities Act and what that did and the changes that how long have you been in a wheelchair at this point?
I've been in a wheelchair almost 3 years.
Okay. And so I assume that you've noticed a big difference between ADA compliant businesses and non-ADA compliant businesses. Can you talk about what that is and how often you find places that comply and don't comply?
Mostly, I find businesses that comply anymore.
Mm-hmm.
They're very good about having people watching the door so that if I'm coming in my wheelchair, they'll get up and help me if I have any trouble. There are more businesses with the doors that you can push the button and they'll open, although those are kind of rare. There aren't frequently businesses like that. It would be nice if everybody had to have doors like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at the risk of asking the obvious, why would it be nice for you?
Because you can push a button and the door will open rather than having to wheel up, get the door open, and getting my wheelchair maneuvered around so I can get in it.
Okay. And so just this, by way of background, so people know what is going on with ADA Title III. The Title III of the Americans with Disabilities Act is well, I mean, do you feel comfortable talking about that, what it is and what it does?
Yeah, this new law?
No. Well, just Title III in general, what it was supposed to do up until 2 days ago.
My understanding was that a business needed to build itself so that it was accessible to everybody, that it didn't just exclude people.
Yeah, and the point with Title III is that if they don't do that, you have legal recourse. You have some place to go to, be able to get the businesses to change things, to clean up their act.
And actually I have, because I remember at Oxmoor one time going out there and there was a big stretch of sidewalk with no curb cut. And I talked to the owners there, and they put in a curb cut.
Okay, well, yeah, and that's the way it's supposed to work, right? And then if they don't do it, then you can proceed to litigation. Here's the funny thing about that, though, is that you hear a lot of talk, and you will hear a lot of talk surrounding this bill about frivolous lawsuits and getting tons and tons of money for rich civil rights lawyers. And the fact of the matter is that the way Title III operates is that you don't get money damages out of this. You cannot go and just get $1 million from a business just because they're not ADA compliant. The idea is that you're supposed to be able to say, hey, look, there's this law that protects me, And can you please make your business accessible within, the boundaries of the law? Do what the law requires, so I don't have to bring an action to court. That's the idea. So talk a little bit about what your understanding is of what this new bill, of what HR 620 is supposed to do, and how you think it's going to change things for you.
My understanding of the new bill is that a business can be built that's not compliant with any of the ADA laws, and then it's my responsibility to try to access that business if I need to, and then complain about it to the owners, and the owners then have time to either make it accessible or not make it accessible, and then it's my responsibility to come back and see if I can get in and go on from there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I mean, that's my understanding too. It essentially creates another administrative barrier between people with disabilities and the court system. And anybody that's litigated these cases or worked on any of these kind of cases know that we don't need any further barriers, and people like Carol don't need any further barriers to access the courts. These cases are not easy. They're not slam dunks, and they're difficult. And again, there's no pot of gold like what the Republicans are trying to sell you at the end of that rainbow, because you don't get money damages. This really is just this is legislation. The ADA was just legislation. Title III was legislation designed to help people with disabilities access public places. Simple as that. So this new bill creates a barrier to that. What do you think that, Carol? Can you talk a little bit about what you think that's going to mean for you in the future?
Well, it will mean that I won't be able to get into places that I might want or need to get into. It's as simple as that. I recently had an issue with a Kroger store because they don't have enough handicap accessible parking places, and I talked to the manager at the store and actually got a good response from them, because they said, we can't do any more handicap places up close to the store because other people need spots. And I said, this wheelchair and my van can park out in the middle of the parking lot if you put wheelchair accessible parking places out there. I don't need to be close to the store because it's easy for me to get in. And the owner of the store had this aha moment and thought that it would be a good idea to put some of those parking spaces out there. But I think this new ADA Act will make it even harder to get quote unquote bad parking places as opposed to the good parking places that people are jealous of.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing that has struck me about this, is that I think that there's a lot of misconceptions and sort of misunderstandings out there about what it means to have accessible places for people with disabilities, what that looks like and what that entails. And, it seems to me that if you have a law out there that incentivizes business owners to go and learn about those things, that seems very helpful.
Yeah.
And this seems to me to be taking away those incentives, because
Right.
if we don't have a problem, there's no reason for us to go and research what we need to do to make this stuff accessible in the first place. Do you think that this is going to, this kind of thing, do you think it will deter people that are in wheelchairs from going out in public more? I mean,
it probably would deter most people, not me, because I will go out in public and yell about it.
yeah.
But there are people that it would deter. I mean, people that have, and there are people besides, I mean, I think of myself as a not incredibly disabled person because I'm able to get around really well in this wheelchair, but there are people that have oxygen tanks that they have to carry with their wheelchair, and people that, literally can't walk very well, have to get themselves out of a car and into a wheelchair to get into a store, and that's very difficult for them. And I think they won't go out.
Yeah, and what strikes me about this is that just from working with clients that I have over the years, it seems like the untold story here is that, dealing with all of that for a lot of folks is exhausting, right? I mean, you're very educated, and your wife is a lawyer, and you've got, and like you care about this stuff, and you can sort of go in and fight the system. that's just not the way it is for a lot of folks.
No, it's not.
And so you're just left with a situation like, okay, I can't access this place, and I'm just going to throw up my hands and say, forget
and just
it.
go somewhere else. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think that's wrong because, frankly, most privileged middle class, upper class people have access to everything, and they don't even think about it until you don't have access to something. I mean, I am so glad I was able to afford the van that has the ramp so I can have the independence of driving myself to places. But there are lots of people that can't do that.
Can't do it. Yeah, can't do it.
And that's just sad. And to make it be so that the local business that you could get to do something won't let you in. I mean, that's essentially what it is they won't let you in. And that feels terrible.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, okay, folks, we're going to bid you a fond farewell here, but thanks for watching. And if you want to do something about this, call your senators and tell them to vote no on this bill, and tell them not to change the ADA. And if anything else, the ADA is something that needs more teeth, but that's a subject for a different video. And we don't need any more barriers for folks in our society to access all that. We want to try to make it to where everybody can access all the same stuff and be on relatively equal footing. So this bill sort of tears that down, and we want to try to stop it. So thanks for watching, everybody, and thanks, Carol. Tell everybody goodbye.
Goodbye. Thanks a lot.